I was co-PI with Professor Geller.
And co-PI, co-principal investigator?
Right. Dr. Geller looked after the conduct of the study, and I looked after the data analysis of the study.
And this is a representative article of some of the research you've done in that area?
Yes, it is.
Have you also personally been involved in the research regarding lidocaine?
Yes, I have.
And showing you this article as a representative article entitled Derivation and Cross-Validation of Pharmacokinetic Parameters for Computer-Controlled Infusion of Lidocaine in Pain Therapy. Again, your name, Stephen L. Shafer, is one of the authors. Can you describe your role in that research and the general findings in that regard?
And again, here, I was the principal investigator, so it was my study. And this also was to develop mathematical models to link a dose of lidocaine to a concentration. The difference in this one, though, is that mathematical model was put into a device, and the device would give lidocaine using the model so that you could tell the device, I want to see a certain concentration, and the device would know how much drug to give. And that's the computer-controlled part, is the computer would know how much drug to administer.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, the articles we've referenced here, have these all been published in peer-reviewed journals and subject to review by your colleagues and other experts in the field?
Yes, I believe all of those were published in Anesthesiology.
And that's the journal you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
So when you talk about the pharmacokinetics of these drugs, for example, propofol, lorazepam, midazolam, lidocaine, is it your own personal research actually has formed the foundation of much of that field of study?
That is correct.
And approximately how many papers have you published?
Including editorials, because on my CV they're sort of mixed together, it's more than 160.
And how about books or book chapters?
I've published more than 50 book chapters.
And Dr. Shafer, do you frequently speak at conferences, symposiums as an expert in this field of pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics?
Yes, I do.
Is that both nationally and internationally?
Yes, it is.
Where have you spoken, let's say, since January of last year, or January of this year, rather?
That makes it easier. Since January of this year, I've spoken, and I may leave something off the list, in Chengdu, China, in Santiago, Chile, in Vancouver, in Toronto, in Aberdeen, Scotland, in Liverpool, England, in Tel Aviv, Israel. That's what comes to mind. It might not be complete.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, you also, I saw in your CV, you teach a course on pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic modeling. When you say pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic modeling, specific as to the course you teach, what are we talking about?
We're talking about teaching scientists in the pharmaceutical industry how to actually come up with the models. Here's the tools that you need to actually figure out the math and come up with a model that works.
And these are the models, again, that you had referenced last week, that you create.
Yes.
These computer-generated models and simulations that allow you to predict dosaging and movement in the body and things of that nature.
That's absolutely correct. These are the models that allow you to take any dose of drug given in some manner that you think might be useful and to predict what is the concentration, and concentration changes over time. So you have to actually predict the whole time course. It's going to rise, it's going to fall. What's that time course look like? And then to take that predicted time course and figure out what's going to happen to the patient. What are you going to see in the patient? That's the nature of the it's a mouthful, but that's the nature of the pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic models, is the whole time course of concentration and the whole time course of the effect of the drug on the patient.
And this course that you teach on that, you said it's to other scientists or students, or to whom?
Well, I teach two courses. I teach a course in the School of Pharmacy at the University of California at San Francisco, and that's the basis of my adjunct appointment. And I also teach with Dr. Dennis Fisher a course that he and I do on our own twice a year, which is a much more intensive course. It's a full week of instruction, which is almost entirely attended by people from the pharmaceutical industry or often the FDA.
Now, in addition to what you do in the research field with the FDA, these various editorial boards, speaking in this subject of pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, are you also a practicing medical doctor and a practicing anesthesiologist?
Yes, first and foremost, I'm a medical doctor and an anesthesiologist.
And where, in what states have you practiced medicine in the field of anesthesiology?
My training was in Pennsylvania. Then my practice was in California from 1986 to 2007 at Stanford University Medical Center and the Palo Alto Veterans Administration Hospital. And then in 2007 I moved to New York, and since then I've been practicing at Columbia University Medical Center.
And will you remain at Columbia for the foreseeable future, or?
The answer is it's likely, now that my wife has moved to California, that in about a year I will be back in the Bay Area at one of the medical centers there.
So how many years have you been an active practicing anesthesiologist that's actively seeing patients on a regular basis?
25.
And I believe you indicated you completed your training then in 1986, and that was then when you were at Stanford in California?
I completed my training at the University of Pennsylvania, and then I moved to California for my fellowship.
At Stanford?
At Stanford.
And to give us an idea, how many days are you in the operating room in a given month, or let's say in the last couple months?
It's been a little more this summer, but I actually had the reason to calculate it, and since July I've been in the operating room since July 1, 26 days.
And with all the other research and the boards and everything, is it important to you to remain active in the actual practice of anesthesiology, to actually be treating patients?
It's actually the most important thing. When you become a physician, it's how you define yourself. When I was asked, what am I, earlier on, I said I'm an anesthesiologist. And seeing patients and practicing as a doctor is what I do. So it is the most important part of my professional life.
Dr. Shafer, have you devoted fair to say you've devoted quite a bit of time to your analysis and research in this case involving the decedent Michael Jackson?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And are you charging any fees for your work in this case?
No, I am not.
You're doing it pro bono?
Entirely.
And why is that, Dr. Shafer?
Some of us may not know the term pro bono.
Including me.
For good.
What's that?
And
Overruled. Just a moment, please. Overruled. Go ahead.
you're doing it without charging any fees?
That is correct.
And why did you offer your research and your talents in this case without charging any fees?
I have not charged for medical malpractice work for the last 10 years. 10 years ago, I was involved in a case where the expert on the other side...
Overruled, it goes to issues of credibility. You may finish. Go ahead.
I felt made misrepresentations, and I did not want any suggestion that I might be offering my testimony and compromising my integrity for any sort of reimbursement. So that was my primary reason. The second reason is just a personal thing, which is the sense of being uncomfortable profiting from a medical misadventure. And for me, it's easier to just simply not charge.
And that's just your own personal...
Yes, I have no criticism of those who charge, and it's absolutely necessary. This is just a Steve Shafer thing.
So in that case, why did you agree, specific to this case, to do it without charging?
Specific to this case, 3 reasons. The case has been so public that I have been concerned that the reputation of physicians is questioned. And I felt a need, or at least I was willing to be here to help to restore confidence that physicians put patients first. As an anesthesiologist, seeing sedation being given in ways that do not reflect how anesthesiologists practice, I felt a need to, I wished to present how an anesthesiologist approaches sedation so that patients are not afraid. Finally, propofol, I am asked every day I'm in the operating room, I tell patients what I'm going to do, and I'm asked the question, are you going to give me the drug that killed Michael Jackson? I get that question daily. This is a fear that patients do not need to have. Propofol is an outstanding drug. And I would like, hopefully from my testimony in part, for people to understand that when they are given these drugs by people who know what they're doing, they're good drugs, they can be safely given, and that what has happened in this case has nothing to do with their experience when they see a doctor for a procedure.
Thank you, Dr. Shafer. And, Your Honor, based on the court's earlier discussions with counsel, now would be a good time.
All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take the mid-morning break a tad early because you're all looking at the clock. We still have some other matters we have to address. So once again, with my thanks for your patience, we're going to take the mid-morning break. It's going to be a little longer than usual so you can feel comfortable in the jury room until we send you the buzz. So please remember all the admonitions, and you'll be joining us shortly. Thanks again. Shafer once again is present as before, and all the jurors and alternates are present. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. It is still morning. I note that as within a second and a half after Mrs. Benson pushed the buzzer, you were ready to go out. So jury deliberation room fever. We had a very lengthy mid-morning recess. We needed that time in order to prepare. Once again, as I've explained repeatedly, and I'm sure you understand, things happen during cases. Ultimately, it's my responsibility to run a courtroom efficiently, and if it is not being run efficiently, if there are unnecessary delays, I apologize for them. In no way should you hold it against any party in this case. Please understand that. Ladies and gentlemen, before the recess, Dr. Shafer was indicating as part of his testimony why he is testifying here today. If he is relying upon anything that someone else may have told him as a basis for why he is testifying today, you should understand that anything that someone may have told him is not received for its truth. Statements of another person on which Dr. Shafer relies as a basis for any opinion are not received for truth, only to explain Dr. Shafer's state of mind and the basis for any of his opinions. So please understand that there's a limited purpose for anybody's statements to Dr. Shafer, only as it applies to Dr. Shafer's state of mind. Thank you. And Dr. Shafer, good morning again. Do you acknowledge, sir, you're still under oath and still sworn to tell the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. This will be a resumption of direct by Mr. Walgren. Thank you.